Hey, it's Izzy.
It's Janelle.
Hey, it's Sam.
Hey, it's Kristen.
Hi, it's Kia. We are Conquer Divide, and you're watching Richard Metal Fan.
Hey, what's up, guys? Episode 233 of Richard Metal Fan Interviews, calling from Zoom, and I'm here with my sisters in Conquer Divide. I got 4/5 of them. How y'all doing?
Great.
Hi,
Hi,
good.
good.
Yeah,
Hey.
we're Janelle's running behind, but but it's great to be able to have y'all here. I mean, I've had Sam on twice, but it's good to have like the other gals.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah,
Anytime,
thank you.
anytime. So kind of like what I want to talk about is do like a rundown of your discography and talk about like your musical history, but take me back to when y'all were young. And I know I kind of talked about this with you, Sam, before, but for the rest of y'all, what were like the first bands that got you into metal and what made you want to play your respective instruments? Who wants to go first?
So I guess I'll go first. So I started playing guitar when I was in school when I was younger, and my dad would take me places a lot, and in his car he would always play Metallica and Iron Maiden. So that's what got me into metal and electric guitar. And originally I just got an electric guitar because I kind of wanted to impress him.
Yeah.
I love that story because it's so wholesome.
Yeah, Metallica and Maiden were like the gateways for me.
hmm
Yeah. What about you,
Um,
Kia?
yeah, so for me, I think it's no secret. I am in love with Haley Williams and with Paramore. I've been singing my whole life.
Oh, there's Janelle.
Um, but oh cool. But yeah, that's when I really started to like get into my own style of singing. And then the first band that I really liked that was like metalcore that made me want to do metalcore was Asking Alexandria. Basically every band that Joey worked with when I was in high school is the reason I got into this music.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. When I was younger, I was like used to think that that shit was kind of weird. Because I was like grew up like a metal guy, Metallica, Megadeth, Iron Maiden, Slayer, here and stuff.
hmm
But I'm getting older. Oh, hey, Janelle.
Hey, Janelle.
Joe, and I was
Hi.
like,
Hi.
like I was,
Sorry I'm so late.
it's all
I
good.
am at a venue, so sorry if my connection is spotty.
It's all good. So kind of like we're kind of give a recap. I was talking to the rest of y'all about what got y'all into metal, what made you play your respective instruments.
Okay.
Like,
What got us into metal? Sorry, I also don't have my AirPods.
it's all good.
Yeah, you can probably
As
just mute in between and it should be good.
you say to mute it in between?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're probably right. As to what got me into metal, I feel like My Chemical Romance.
Yeah,
That's pretty easy go-to answer from you there. And System of a Down.
because you wanted to.
Because I want, yeah.
Yeah, like I just love how
I
Chop
didn't do
Suey
it.
just became like a meme. And it's kind of
Yeah.
funny. Like I was telling Kia, like when I was younger, I didn't understand all that scene stuff because I was like in the Slipknot, Metallica, Megadeth, Iron Maiden. But as I'm getting older, I used to be like older. I kind of look back and I was like, man, was I really like that? Because I was used to be like, yeah, fuck that stupid stuff. But the older I get, it's actually kind of catchy. Like those first two Paramore albums actually kind of slap, to be honest.
Almost
I know.
definitely.
And I like some of the songs from Welcome to the Black Parade are pretty catchy.
Oh, yeah.
Like I
Oh,
remember,
yeah.
like if you're like, as I remember, Gerard Way actually did a solo spot on Ibaraki, which had Ishan from Emperor and Matt from Trivium. They did a project and he featured on that. And he did screams. So I was like, damn, this is actually impressive. It surprised me.
Yeah, he's diverse, which is why I love him.
Oh
Gerard
yeah,
Way.
oh yeah, oh
I
yes,
feel that way. I feel that way, Richard. As well. I feel like when I was younger, I went for a phase. I was like, emo stuff or scene stuff. That's not metal, you know. When I was like 12 or 13, then like I kind of like, but I think it was just this weird thing I was going through. I was like, that's everyone likes that, so I don't want to like it. Kind of thing. It was like a stupid kid thing you go through, you
yeah, yeah,
know.
yeah. I think the older you get,
Like,
their tastes are change. The more your tastes change.
yeah.
Yeah, and I guess what about you, Kristen? What got you into playing guitar?
Um, so my parents both play instruments. My mom plays guitar. My dad's a drummer. And so I grew up playing in church, on Sundays and for youth group. And then eventually one of my cousins came over and introduced me to Metallica and taught me a Metallica song, and then it was just kind of all downhill after that.
Yeah. And so were any of y'all in bands before starting up Conquer Divide, or was Conquer Divide y'all's first band?
Yeah, this was my first band.
Oh.
Yeah.
I played in some local bands in Liverpool, and then I performed at my university as well, for music. And then I did some like kind of one-off kind of like session work. But I guess like Conquer Divide is probably the first like proper band,
Yeah.
you know?
Wait, like probably like a month ago was the first time I found out, was when I found out that Izzy used to be in another band.
Oh
And
no, I showed it to you in the bunks on tour.
Oh,
I
why
showed
does
you
that
the
feel
video.
like that? That feels like that was like not that long ago.
Oh wow. Yeah. Yeah. So
It was female fronted too, so I feel like
It
I've
was
always
so
wanted to be in a female fronted
cute.
band.
yeah.
It was little
You know.
baby Izzy.
Yeah. So
I'm
how
still a baby.
so how did Conquer Divide all form? Because you all formed in 2013.
That's a good Kristen question.
Yeah.
Take it away,
Yeah.
Kristen.
So, touching on your last question, I had been in two local all-girl bands, just from my local Metro Detroit area. And I knew that I wanted to pursue music professionally, but I guess the people I was in a band with at the time, I think they were just more in it for fun and didn't really want to do it professionally. So that's when I decided to branch out and start looking online for members, kind of just all over the country or all over the world, to be honest, because obviously we've got members from 3 countries. And yeah, I just wanted to find people who were serious and wanted to do the thing. And so that's how Conquer came about.
Yeah. And for you, Izzy, because kind of growing up in England, of course, England, the birthplace of heavy metal, Black Sabbath, Motorhead, Iron Maiden, Judas Priest, even like the metalcore bands like Bury Tomorrow, While She Sleeps, Bullet for My Valentine, Ask Alexandria. How did you end up finding out about Conquer Divide and getting the gig?
Kristen messaged me on YouTube because I used to do YouTube covers. So she messaged me direct messages through YouTube, and it was kind of funny because I feel like I never really looked at those messages, but I think I got a notification, and she just basically asked me like, "Hey, I like you're playing. You want to come do this? You want to come to Michigan and try out?" And I was like, "Okay, that sounds like fun." And she sent me Eyes Wide Shut, and I really like the sound of it. And I think it was around like Christmas time, so I was at home with my parents for the holidays. And I kind of went downstairs and I like showed like my parents like, this band want me to like try out, and they, like if I get in, like they want me to come to America. And my parents were like, oh yeah, that they listened to Eyes Wide Shut and they're like, that's awesome, that's great. Well, they weren't like that's awesome because that's a very American thing to say, but they were very supportive. They were just like, go for it.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Oh yeah. And how did you end up joining Kia?
So mine was kind of backwards from Izzy's. So I think someone had posted like that this band is looking for a vocalist. And I was like mostly just like I was recording covers like in my friend's shed. And I had like maybe like 1 or 2 covers posted online like that I had done with my boyfriend at the time. And he like messaged me saying, okay, actually, so then we broke up, and like a year later, he messaged me like, hey, you should audition for this band. And I remember being like, I feel like he's pranking me. Like, I feel like he probably doesn't like me very much. So this has to be some kind of sick fucking joke. And so I sent my audition in, and it was like to some email, and I heard back like, hey, we like this, you should come out in person. So I did, and it's good that I did because I found out many years later that Joey hated my audition and Kristen loved the audition. And so I went there with one of my friends who was like more familiar with like Joey and Joey's work and stuff. And I auditioned, and then I heard back like maybe a week later, they were like, do you want to join? And I was like, hell yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And how about you, Janelle?
Kind of like the same vibe. YouTube covers, doing that. And then I think my friend Teddy like tagged Joey or something, and Joey, because he used like a Joey plugin, and it was like a new one, so he was like, I used the new Joey plugin, and he tagged Joey, and then Joey saw it, and then I think was like, hey, you could scream, bro. And then I on Christmas, or not Christmas, on Thanksgiving is when I got a message from Kia that was like, hey, yo, girl, you should audition. And I was like, I think
It's the holidays.
and yeah, the rest is history.
Yeah, you got to think over a decade of Conquer Divide, almost 10 going on now 11 years. Do you think that Conquer Divide would be around for this long?
I don't know what I thought.
I don't know either.
I always thought that it would go on. I'm not surprised that we're still going at it, to be honest.
Yeah. And then you started playing around like Michigan and stuff, and then you got signed to Artery Records. So how did Artery Records find Conquer Divide?
We actually signed with Artery before we played any shows.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's very rare.
Yeah, Joe sent our demos around to a couple different record labels that he had worked with. So Rise Records, Artery, Epitaph was one of them, and I think Fearless.
Yeah.
And we had a bit of a bidding war in the beginning. There were quite a few labels making offers at the time, and so it was actually kind of difficult to choose, to narrow it down.
Yeah, but what was it about like Artery to be like, that's the one?
Many.
For me it was for me it was Eric Rushing. Eric Rushing, he had managed some of the bands that we looked up to, like Asking Alexandria, Attack, and Of Mice and Men. And then he branched off and started his own label, and so we just kind of felt like we'd be in good hands there. Unfortunately the label folded a few years later.
Because I've heard like mixed responses from that label, because I know there was this band called Barry Tomorrow. They were on that for a while, but then they were trying to like change their sound, and they were like touring in America early days. But then apparently they were kind of like, fuck that, we don't want to change our sound, we want to stay true. And apparently they got blacklisted.
They didn't really mess with our sound at all. I feel like they kind of just let us do our thing.
Yeah, you're kind of like we're gonna do what we do. Fuck off if you disagree.
Yeah.
We had a strange, well, it wasn't a strange experience of Artery, but it was uncommon because our management was also within Artery, and then also our agent was also within Artery as well. And usually you want it to be outsourced because it can be like a conflict of interest. But I feel like ultimately we had a good experience. Yeah. But also I feel like when the label folded, we were just like, oh, okay, on to bigger and better things,
Yeah.
Yeah. Some of those bands that were on Artery, like Artery was like bought out or something like that, I think. And some of those bands got picked up, and we were hoping that we were one of them, but we weren't. I think only 2 of them got picked up. And I want to say one of them is not even a band anymore.
I think it was short-lived.
Yeah.
Yeah, never heard of them.
Yeah, they sold to Warner, I believe, is what it was. But that's the goal of some smaller record labels, is to build up a big catalog and then sell to a major.
Yeah. But tell me about making the self-titled album. I thought this was like a very underrated metalcore debut album. So what was the thought process going into making the debut Conquer Divide album?
Oh gosh.
I'm like, who's gonna take it?
Long. It's hard to even think back to that time period. I don't know.
Well,
I think
you definitely wanted to write a metalcore album, Kristen. So like before, a lot of the album was mainly written before I joined, but like it was just kind of like a classic metalcore album, and like I feel like that was the goal. But we wanted to like make sure that there were strong vocal melodies as well, So we had really leaned into that. I think that was the goal. The goal was to write a sick metalcore album, and I think we did.
Yeah, I don't think I really contributed very much to many of the lyrics. I think there was like 1 or 2 songs that I contributed to. But you know, we've obviously had former members in our band as well, and all of those former members have also contributed to that too. So you know, we had Sarah and Susie helping out. And yeah, I mean, I feel like our writing process has changed a lot since then, and it's hard to like reflect on what it was like back then. Because yeah, like it was like 10 years feels like not a lot of time. I don't feel that much older than I was 10 years ago, but like it was a really long time ago.
Yeah. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Kristen, so the album was released in 2015, but some of their songs you started to write them in like 2012, right? 2011?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So it's even older than like when the debut was released. So it's like even more than 10 years to think back on.
Yeah. Yeah, but like songs like Eyes Wide Shut, Nightmares, What's Left Inside, like every song feels like different from one another. And that's one thing I love about this album. It's like every song is very diverse and has like a different kind of like vibe and emotion behind it.
Yeah, I think the only song that I was like present for from its beginning, like first steps of writing it until the end, was What's Left Inside. I remember I was at the studio like recording other stuff, and Kristen like had inspiration strike and like literally left the room and like went to another room and just started like playing her guitar and just like and was like, listen to this song I just wrote. And I was like, this is fucking cool.
I feel like What's Left Inside is kind of like with our new album Slowburn, like Only Girl had a similar kind of writing process because Kristen wrote that with acoustic guitar and singing first. Yeah. And then it got created into like a rock song. Yeah. That's like Only Girl is the What's Left Inside.
Of Slowburn,
Yeah.
You know, next year, 2025, will mark the 10-year anniversary of this album. Is there any chance you'll do like a celebration of this? Maybe play it start to finish on a tour or something?
I would love to do that, honestly.
I would hate to do that.
Conflict of interest.
I would also hate to do that.
I'd have to learn a couple more songs.
Everyone's always like, Eyes Wide Shut, yay. And I'm like, boo, fuck
really
you,
hard
Eyes Wide
to
Shut.
play.
Yeah.
I think it's just because you've done it for so many times, right, Kia?
Yeah.
And what was it like working with Dennis from formerly of Asking Alexandria and Make Me Famous on Sink Your Teeth Into This?
It was pretty cool. He heard the instrumental of Sink Your Teeth when he came out to work on some Down and Dirty stuff. And I just happened to play it for him in my car, and he was like, this is amazing. I'd love to guest on this. And like a couple of years went by because we were going through the process of getting signed, and it took some time. And so I circled back to him later and said, hey, do you want to guest on that song that you liked so much? And eventually he came to our house again because now he was with Asking Alexandria. And so he was tracking the Black album at our house. And so I got him to do vocals when he was back at our house.
Awesome. And so when the album came out, did you like start like touring outside of Michigan for the first time, or was it still kind of local? And what was like the first tours like for the album?
The album came out when we were on a tour. So the album like was released when we were in the middle of the All Stars tour in 2015. And it was really fun because the album release day was Las Vegas at the Hard Rock Cafe. Nice. So we had actually started touring before that. That was in July, and we had been touring since like February or March. But yeah, the release date was during a tour, which was fun, you know.
Yeah, and did you like played like at the old Masquerade in Atlanta back in the day?
Yeah.
Yeah, what was that
a couple
like?
times. It's a cool venue. I always enjoyed it there.
I don't remember it being bad.
A little bit of a dungeon. It kind of reminded me of a castle.
Yeah, that was my vibe, especially because they have like a little thing at the old spot where they had like load up your shit up in heaven. They have like a little pulley thing. They had to like load stuff up there. Yeah,
stressful.
Yeah, totally. And then you started touring for a little bit, and then of course like the band like around 2017 18 sort of like a lot of people thought you broke up. So what was sort of like the reason for like the hiatus and stuff?
If we could tell you, we would have already made a post about it, but unfortunately we can't talk about it.
Right.
Mhm.
Right,
We
right.
were the initial plan was to come back in 2020. That was the initial plan.
But-
So we were on hiatus, but we were just waiting for our comeback, as it will. And then unfortunately, because of COVID, everything got pushed back even further.
Yeah.
But it was a combination of different things, some things that we can't talk about. But yeah, it was never like we never quit music, so to speak. We were, and then me and Kristen were still meeting up like every now and then to write the second album or start doing it.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then we were ready to come back, and then COVID hit, and then it was kind of like
Yeah.
everything got pushed back even further.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, yeah. But then, of course, during the whole pandemic, you released like some one-off singles like Chemicals, Bad Habits, and Messy. I thought those were really good. So how was that like sort of like being like the comebacks kind of singles? Well, then when were those written at?
What's I think we wrote those in what, 2019, 2018 maybe. Yeah.
I know
those
Chemicals
years.
used to be called Bloop, right, Kristen? Our working title for Chemicals was Bloop.
Yeah.
It
just was. Yeah,
I remember
it was
that.
Bloop. So like it's just I unfortunately don't have my old laptop on me, but I could see when that like Bloop was created. But yeah, I think it was the end of 2018, 2019.
Yeah.
Yeah, and of course that was like the first release with, of course, Sam on drums. And I think I might have asked you this, Sam, before. So how did you end up joining up with Conquer Divide? And did you like try to bring something new rhythmically that they didn't have before?
Back in like 2011, I think, is when Kristen reached out to me, because she was putting together an all-female project, et cetera, et cetera. Long story short, like I just graduated school. I had just started my first real job, blah, 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 blah. I wasn't able to commit to what they needed. So, so Kristen found another drummer. That became Gates of Babylon, which was kind of the precursor to Conquer Divide. But I always regretted that and not like making that my priority, because I always regretted that. But then it was 2019, end of 2019. Yeah, Kristen reached out to me again and said, hey, Conquer Divide is coming back. We don't have a drummer anymore. Are you down to do some stuff with us? Blah, blah, blah. And so that kind of just turned into where we are now. But yeah, there was no conscious effort to like bring something new to the table rhythmically or anything. It really is just giving the songs the drum parts that make sense. And a lot of more of the songs on Slowburn are definitely a little bit more straightforward. There's a lot more rock vibes on this album than the first album, so it wouldn't make sense to be like doing something crazy on a lot of the songs.
Yeah, and I know like during shows you release some of those pandemic singles on the Self-Medicated EP, which I got right here. So I love, how did this idea to make a little mini EP to have like something like actually physical for fans to buy?
It was literally just for touring, right, Kristen?
Yeah,
Because we wanted to sell our music that we had at the time, and we didn't have Slowburn out yet. And it was kind of this in-between era, and we didn't really like have a name to it just yet. Because I guess originally Chemicals and Messy was supposed to be on the new album, and then just because of politics or whatever, with signing with a label, it just became its own little thing because it was already pre-released, like not pre-released, but released without independently. So we just wanted to put a name to the in-betweeny stuff, I guess.
Yeah, and I gotta thank you all for like managing to mail me a copy, so that way if I ever try to go to shows, I won't have to like, if y'all are running out, I won't have to like shove people out of my way to get a copy.
Yeah, I'm glad it made it there safely.
Yeah, but then of course you got signed to your next label, Mascot Records. So how did they find Conquer Divide?
Our management knew Ron from Mascot and pitched us to them. And we wanted to sign with them because they're kind of an old school label. They're good at FM radio, and I don't know, they're just good people. So yeah.
Tell me about making Slowburn. This was definitely one of my favorite albums from last year here. So what was the writing and recording process like for that, being that it has been like 8 years between the self-titled to now Slowburn?
I wanted to mention earlier when we were talking about how Chemicals was the first song released when we came back, but it actually wasn't like
That, yeah.
the oldest song that we started with, like when we started thinking of new music.
Right.
And I think the very first song that we wrote that was intended for this second album is now called Playing with Fire, but
Yeah.
at the time was called Baked Potato, I think, or something
Yeah,
like
Fully
that.
loaded baked
Fully
potato.
Fully loaded baked potato.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
and yeah, so I feel like with writing Slowburn, like some of the ones that we started off with are like not the ones you would have expected us to. And I think that's why every song is so different, because like they really were all written at like different points in time. And I feel like a lot of them have anchors to different things that were going on in our own personal lives that we were able to contribute and put that into the work of every song.
Right. And did you wanted to continue in the same vein as the self-titled, or being as it has been 8 years, it wanted to try to make it like a new fresh start for Conquer Divide?
I think we wanted to stay true to like Conquer Divide, but also recognizing that what we did on the self-titled was kind of outdated at that point, and you have to evolve with the times. And not only that, like not only did like the general times change, but like our personal tastes in music changed too.
Yeah.
And I feel like we kind of wanted to, like I said, stay true to that, but also like change and keep up with the times and keep up with like what we ourselves personally like too.
Yeah, totally. Because you have like the catchy choruses, the great riffs, and obviously you're being interviewed by RichardMetalFan. I've interviewed like a lot of death metal bands, a lot of black metal bands, so I'm pretty sure everybody can look at you all as like emperor. So yeah, yeah. But tell me about like making like the actual like recording process. Like what kind of like new ideas did you wanted to work with?
Um, I'd say we played around with production a lot more.
And time
I
signatures.
Yeah, and time signatures. I spent many hours going through Splice and
Oh my God.
finding samples.
I was there, I can attest to that.
Yeah.
She would like sit there and just like go through different sounds for hours and hours and hours, trying to like find like little effects that would, bring a big impact to the music.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like the ending of Welcome to Paradise, for example, that sort of Middle Eastern instrument you hear, that was like a sample that I found on Splice. And so yeah, just going through and then we also made some of our own production for this. There was some construction happening next door one day, and they had like I don't know, one of those big cat machines, and they were drilling into the ground and hitting bedrock, and it was making a cool sound. So I went out there with my phone and just started pressing record. And anyway, we ended up putting it in the breakdown of Welcome to Paradise. You can hear a jackhammer in there.
Wait, shut up. I didn't know that.
I thought there was one in
Yeah.
System Failure.
There might be one in System Failure
cool.
too, but yeah, Welcome to Paradise. I made a TikTok about it.
Yeah.
Maybe I knew and I forgot.
Yeah. Yeah. And
I just show up and do what I'm told. I don't know.
All right. I kind of want to talk about like the writing process, kind of like starting with you, Janelle and Kia, because being as you are singers, do you need to hear the music in order to come up with lyrics, or just the lyrics just come like naturally and organically, or do you try to like put yourself in a certain mind frame in order to come up with lyrics?
For me with lyrics, so like one way that Kristen and I do it is Kristen will send me a clip of her like basically like singing nonsense, like whatever, right? And
Yeah.
then sometimes I'm like, oh, it kind of sounded like you said this word, and then it kind of just like helps me, like that's like the jumping off point. Sometimes there's things where it's like, when we wrote Playing with Fire, for example, I was dealing with at the time a friend who was getting out of a physically abusive relationship. And Kristen sent me this instrumental and was like, hey, we should try to figure out what we want this song to be about. And like when I listened to it, I was like, dude, I feel like this is the perfect song for us to like address, domestic violence. And so I feel like for me, it kind of just was whatever was going on around me sometimes, or sometimes it would literally be like, oh, when you sang that word, it sounded like you said chemicals. And then it's like, oh, what if we did chemicals, and then it's just like kind of a riff off of each other with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, with Playing with Fire as well, instrumental was completely different. And then the vocals were done, and then we rewrote the instrumental after we had added vocal ideas.
All right. And of course,
So I
like,
guess it didn't even
Interestingly
matter.
yeah.
No, but it's like it like had like a nice, I guess like that's like an interesting journey for a song to take, because
Yeah.
you like wrote the lyrics and everything and the melody to a completely different instrumental, and then we had started, like you said, it was one of the oldest songs from the second album, and then when we were going to release it, we were like, this sounds like we need to modernize it now because it's been like a couple of years. And then it ended up changing. And we do have like the old, maybe we can release it as bonus.
Yeah.
Like the old, and
The
that's
old
exactly, and that's the exact same story for Afterthought as well. So those are two songs on the album where the instrumental was done, vocals were added, and then the instrumental completely changed underneath the vocals.
Right. And of course, like one of the signature parts of the Conquer Divide sound is, of course, the collaboration between Kia and Janelle's vocals, because there's bands with two vocalists I like Lacuna Coil, We Came as Romans, Linkin Park, stuff like that. So when it comes to you two, do you have to be like in the same like mind frame emotionally to come up with lyrics? And how do you decide like, okay, this part's Kia, this part's Janelle? How do you two manage to like work it so it's a level playing field in the song?
I think it comes from whatever sounds good in the song, but I never have really contributed to Janelle's vocals, so I'll let Janelle handle that one.
Yeah, it's definitely like, I feel like it builds, the screamy parts build off like what the melody, like the singing melody is. And like, I feel like screams are definitely kind of like almost seasoning to the singing melody. And so it's like whatever, Kia's singing about, and like the main point I always like to kind of like highlight, especially in like, like in Atonement. I feel like me and her have like the same kind of, we're doing the same lyrics because like those words are very powerful. So I feel like having us, me accent her melody makes the words just even more oomph and like well seasoned in your face.
Yeah. Have y'all ever get in the fights like, I'm singing this part or I'm screaming this part?
Definitely not.
No, I feel like a lot of the times it's been decided already, like whether it's going to be a screaming or a singing part because of the instrumental, what's going, because usually most of the time the instruments are done and then we add vocals to it afterwards, and then we'll change the instruments, like do finishing touches afterwards. So there's never really that like argument about whether it's going to be a screaming or a singing part, because if you listen to the music, it's kind of obvious what part is going to have singing and screaming,
Yeah, because I feel like you can also express yourself differently with clean vocals versus like harsh vocals. Like I feel like there's like a different vocal style can convey a certain different emotion that another style can't.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, and then of course with like for you, Kristen and Izzy, being like the guitarist, because do you ever like try to like write the parts and be like, okay, figure out, okay, this part's Janelle, this part is Izzy. So yeah, I think we know we kind of touched upon that already.
Yeah, I think we generally have a formula that we kind of know where the vocals are going to go from just from the instrumental, like Izzy was saying.
It's pretty like mathematical how we approach like structure. Like we do it pretty like we don't sometimes we go with the flow, but a lot of the time we're like, this is going to be this section. Like we kind of write in sections like intentionally.
All right, and being as you both have like different styles, because I know Izzy, you handle sort of like the melodies, and Kristen and come up with the riffs. How do you like try to like figure it out? Because I know like with you Izzy, I feel like your guitar playing is also very technical. So do you ever know like music theory, like what kind of like scales that you're playing with?
So a lot of the time it's when we're in the studio, and I use like studio loosely, when we're in a room together. And we have a studio set up, like a laptop or whatever. A lot of the time it's noodling, I guess. And we're just kind of playing, and we're just trying to, and then Kristen will say like, yep, that sounds good. Especially when it comes to like the clean melodies, we'll just like loop a section, and then I'll just add I'll just keep playing until she likes what she hears. Pretty much. But I guess like sometimes, a lot of the time it's by ear. But
Yeah.
because I do have like a background in theory like knowledge, sometimes like I do like see scales under my fingers, and it makes it a little bit easier picking out, and like I'm able to like pick out chords. But yeah, it's a lot of noodling.
All right.
I know
And-
zero theory, so
Yeah.
I just kind of
Yeah.
I'll sketch out a song with like a chord progression that I like, and then we just kind of build on it on a very basic chord progression and make it until it sounds cool.
Yeah, and we just add layers and layers and layers and layers
Until there's like,
until there's
44
way
layers
too
in one song.
until there's way too many layers of guitar, and then we're like, we actually need to take some of these out.
All right. And for you, on kind of with you, Janella, as because I know you've been recently playing bass, because I know you've heard the jokes of all the bass players and then all the memes made, but I feel like you don't gravitate towards flashy bass playing, but instead you find ways to link what Izzy and Chris are doing with the melody and what Sam is doing with the rhythm, but it in a very creative sense. So, what's your approach to slapping a bass?
Honestly, the same vibe. Like, following the guitar stuff and just definitely simplifying it because, bass, I can't be shredding. But yeah, just like finding that good rhythm. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and how do you like manage to like sing and play bass at the same time? Because I always like to ask like musicians that do both.
I mean, I already had a good foundation with screaming obviously before, and then I just really had to like nail in bass into my brain and make it like basically, what do you call it? When it's just a habit at that point. And then once they were
Muscle
both
memory.
like solidified, separately, once I put them together, they just
Yeah.
kind of fell.
But
Yeah,
Janelle's played guitar and sang together in the past. So
Yeah.
it wasn't like
Yes.
completely alien to
Yeah.
her as well.
Yeah,
She's
because-
already like done both,
Yeah.
like two things
Yeah.
at the same time.
Yeah, because I feel like I feel like you're like the Tom Araya of metalcore with the way you sing and play bass.
Yeah. Thank you.
Oh yeah. And
Sick.
for you, Sam, I know I kind of touched upon this the last time we spoke, but as a drummer, because usually the drummer's job is to like keep the tempo and the beat. So do you usually have like a whole pattern written and the rest the band writes according to that, or do you need to hear what the riffs are doing in order to lay down your parts?
Yeah, historically drums have always come later. So the riffs are kind of written. There'll be like, might be some placeholder beats, things like that. I know actually I owe this to Kristen where we were talking about, are there any kind of cool rhythms and patterns that we could try on drums, and then like, something that's maybe catchy or rhythmically interesting. And I need to get that to you. So once we're back from our next little jaunt, I'll send you some ideas. But yeah, typically it starts with guitars, and drums come later as more of a supporting feature.
All right. And of course with playing live, because I've only time I saw you guys was of course 2 years ago on the tour at the Attack, but I thought it was a good tour. But I know you used to play with like a variety of different bands, because I know you played with on the All Stars tour, which is kind of a different vibe, but then with the Attack tour, and I know you're going to be on the next tour with Avatar, which is totally different from Attack. But do you ever notice like a different like reaction to the crowds depending on like the different tours that you play with?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, one time we were on tour with Attack and we were about to play Messy, and I think Janelle or I said like, all right, we're gonna slow this down for you right now. And literally someone in the crowd went, boo. So I mean, we always are very conscious now, especially we're very conscious of who's the headlining band and what kind of music do their fans like, right? So when we played with Electric Cowboy, we're like, obviously we're not going to play Messy. Like Electric Cowboys fans are there to party. They want to listen to like the heavier songs. So yeah, I mean, that definitely the crowd reaction varies from tour to tour, and even from city to city, even if it's on the same tour, we didn't get booed every time we played Messy, but we did get booed that one time.
Yeah.
And like, which is really great. It felt really, really good, and really boosted boosted my ego.
Yeah,
Um,
because I feel like you could play with like a bunch of diverse bands, because you're not just a one band that could play for a different crowd. I could see you like play with like freaking, you could play with like fucking Deicide or Morbid Angel, but you can also play with like My Chemical Romance.
yeah, we
Mhm.
definitely try to like think about, okay, like on this tour with Avatar, what kind of music do we think their fans are gonna like? But so like how can we cater to that? But also the thing I'm the most excited for with Avatar is like that Oxymorons is gonna be there too. Not only because I love Oxymorons, but because like even Avatar and Oxymorons sound is completely different. And we don't sound like either of those bands. And so I feel like even if we don't necessarily play something that like is their vibe, I feel like it will still be really cool. Hopefully we pick hopefully we make the right choices when it comes to the set list, because you just never really know until you're there and you
Oh
get
yeah.
booed.
And one thing I love is
Yeah,
about
and
that.
I think that was sorry, Richard. I think that's what was intentional with Slowburn as well, is that we definitely the album is so varied because we wanted to also have like flexibility when it came to being on heavier tours or lighter tours, and then we could kind of pick and choose what songs we want to do. Like that
Yeah.
was like definitely deliberate, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, so like on your heavier tours, you gotta play like Mirrors and stuff, but on your softer tours, you
Mhm.
could play Messy. So you have like the best,
Yeah.
like the perfect songs to like cater to like
Hmm.
different crowds.
Hmm.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
one thing I love about you all is like you all are like some like really funny, especially on like TikTok and stuff, with like making like the whole like feet memes and screaming like DMs. Like, how did the whole thing of like screaming DMs come to be? Because I see those, I thought they were fucking hilarious.
I think I brought that one to the table, I feel like, as an idea.
Mhm.
Because there is other people who are like, it's just like, okay, like Andrew Baina and Johnny, like they do screamy pickup lines, for example. So it's like, well, why don't we do like Janelle screaming like the messed up stuff that's come into the DMs, you know what I mean? And so
Mhm.
then it was between like Janelle and Kristen kind of writing something that's going to work over an existing song. And
Mhm.
yeah.
I just think it fits perfectly.
Yes, and we had already done like the mean tweets video, so it was kind of like evolving that kind of concept of kind of like calling people out a little bit,
Yeah,
like just reading
yeah, but
people's stuff.
yeah. I don't know if y'all ever seen like at encounters with creepy bozos on tour, but fortunately, I don't think you have. Nobody's ever comes up and say that like, yeah, that was me.
No.
Honestly, if someone came up and was like, "Hey, remember that weird DM you got? That was me." I'd probably be like, "Good for you, dude. Like, good for
Yeah.
you
Yeah,
for
own
showing
up
your
to
face
it.
around here."
Yeah. Yeah, yeah,
The audacity.
yeah,
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 if you're gonna be weird online, like be weird to my face, dude. Like,
yeah,
let's
That
go.
kind of
yeah.
that happened to me only one time, but like it wasn't a bad thing that they said. It was in our like Conquer Divide fan group on Facebook, the
Yeah,
Conquer
the
Divide
lip.
lit posting group.
I think that's a great.
Someone Yeah, someone had posted in there like, "Oh, Izzy's the Rhea Ripley of guitar," and then like the guy that like said it, he's like, "Hey, I'm the Rhea Ripley guy. I said that," and I was like, "Oh, thanks."
Yeah,
But it was
yeah,
like,
Dude, Rhea Ripley is hot, so that's like a really big
yeah,
compliment.
I know. So I was
yeah,
like, "Thank you. It was you that boosted my ego
yeah.
momentarily.
Yeah, but
Thank you."
yeah, but I don't think you all have met anybody that crossed the line. If anybody, but if I ever see
No,
that I'll be like, hey, leave them be. They don't want to be bothered.
the
Yeah.
fans
Don't
definitely have
worry,
not
so will
crossed.
we.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Just hire me to be y'all's bodyguard. I can take care of those bozos.
it's never the fans that cross the line. Take that however you want, but it's never the fans.
It's like shit talkers
Who
or
else? Who else
hecklers.
is there? Who else is around us on tour that aren't the fans? Take it how you want.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh
yeah,
boy.
and yeah,
Oh.
and
Oh, Izzy.
yeah. And being as it now it's getting close to a year since Slowburn, have you all started work on the next Conquered Divided albums? Like, what's the status with that, if you're all allowed to say?
A little bit,
We've been
here and
noodling a
there.
little bit.
Yeah, we've been
Kristen and I
noodling around.
worked on Kristen and I have worked on at least one and talked about what kind of things we want to include on the next album, but you know, just that it's very basic, like, hey, we should write a song about blah 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 blah, you know. And then, you know, but by the time it gets to me, it's been through Kristen and Izzy and Sam before it gets to Janelle and I. So I don't know if they have already started doing something that hasn't gotten to me yet.
Surprise! Just kidding.
Yeah.
Surprise, bitch.
We have a couple of instrumentals started, but and again, we're always trying to do something different, but it's all in the very early stages.
All right. And kind of like in the end, to sort of wrap things up, what's next for Conquer Divide? I know you got that tour with Avatar coming up. Is just anything else with Conquer Divide that y'all want to plug, that if you're allowed to say?
Yeah, I mean, we do have Havoc Fest that we're playing, which is August 24th, I believe. Which is really exciting because Kitty is headlining. So that'll be really cool. Sam
Meow.
kind of talks to some of them, but we haven't met them officially yet. So I'm really excited for that. It'll be cool to like meet people who like everyone online who thinks all women sound the same compares you to. So that's really cool.
We need to make some TikToks with them. Actually, we need to make that one.
Yeah, and Conquer
TikTok.
Divide be like, hold my beer.
Yeah.
Or like the Spider-Man meme where he's like pointing at himself. It's like
all girl band.
Yeah.
So yeah, we have Havoc Fest. We have Hear This Fest, which is sooner than Havoc Fest. So I guess I'm going backwards. That's April 6th, which is in Michigan. It's a little festival that we're headlining that we've played before, but we've never headlined. So that'll be really cool. That's at the Crowfoot. So I haven't been to the Crowfoot in years. So that'll be really cool. We are in talks about a couple of other tours this year that some of them we're still working out the kinks. Some of them are like mostly confirmed but not announced yet. So yeah, we have some stuff planned and we're really excited. I think this is gonna hopefully be our busiest year yet, which is really cool. And yeah, I can't wait to like officially announce everything because it's gonna.
You'll tell me when I turn off the recorder.
Yeah.
Just
exactly. Between me
Yeah.
and you, yeah.
Yeah.
But also, you've got some little insider knowledge from Patreon anyway, Richard. So
Fuck yeah.
You know.
So
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, thank you, sisters, for joining me in this conversation. There's just any final words you want to say to the viewers that are watching this to close this out?
We appreciate you.
Thanks. Yeah, we love you. And thanks for sticking around through all the bullshit.
Yeah, fuck yeah. I'll always support you, always will.
Yeah.
So everybody,
Thank you, Richard.
Conquer Divide. See you next time.